The idea came from you guys last night, so the image to this topic. So here we go. Drew, it's over to you, buddy.
Yeah, rather than take legal action, a Kentucky atheist group fought revelation with reason in a Case County school district. When the Gideons group was allowed to distribute Bibles to students, the tri-state freethinkers decided to get a little creative and distribute some literature of their own. Going against the warnings of the ACLU, as well as the law, Superintendent Marion Saunders allowed the religious group Gideons International to hand out New Testament Bibles to students in 3 elementary schools in his district. While this would be strong grounds for legal action, local atheist group the Tri-State Freethinkers, with the backing of the ACLU, decided to give the religious right a taste of their own medicine. The group distributed their own book, Humanism, What's That? A book for curious kids, with a concept that they might not be aware of, that religious ideas can be questioned. Surprisingly, Superintendent Saunders allowed atheists to distribute their books too, perhaps fearing legal recourse if he didn't. Some religious parents were outraged, threatening to keep their children from school when the books were made available. Regardless, the district has made no attempt to remove the books. While it's not exactly separation of church and state, at least the students will be allowed to see other sides of the issue, and sometimes that's all it takes.
Awesome. So who wants to go first on this one? Paul?
I'm waiting for one of those two to talk so I can disagree with them.
Fine. In that case, I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead, Drew.
I do. It's just. I think it is another case of the hypocrisy of the religious right in the country, and it kind of never ceases to amaze me. Because I mean, there's a lot of stories on local news that I've seen from time to time where religious people will completely flip out because their kids saw something in school that their parents attribute to being either pagan or demonic or atheistic or something like that, and they run up to the school demanding that the pamphlets or whatever it is be burnt, and that the school say prayers to Jesus and stuff like that. But my favorite part of the article in particular is that part where it says that the Humanist book contained the concept that religious ideas can be questioned.
Yeah.
Like that was like the big deal, and that's probably what set the parents off, I'm thinking, because
of course,
as we all know, critical thinking and questioning is completely lethal.
It is of
to
the
religion.
devil.
Very much so.
It is of the devil.
Yeah. That was kind of my point.
So are you agreeing that it's a good thing that the school is allowing those pamphlets to be put out in both cases, the religious and the humanist?
Well, no, actually, my position would be like Joe said at the very beginning. I think they should abstain from putting any of those kinds of things out. But if one side is going to be able to put something out, it does seem only fair that the other side is allowed to do it.
Yeah, my first position is the same exact thing like we talked about before the show went live is, hey, listen, I would say no to anything. I mean, children are there to learn, not to adhere to or at least promote their beliefs. They're not there for that. But if, you're going to get a principal or somebody allowing Christian literature, well, yeah, it's only right for them to have Muslim literature or, atheistic literature, humanism.
Scientology, Mormonism.
Exactly. If you're going to allow one, you got to allow all of them, even though I'm against it.
I'm pretty sure there's been court cases saying that.
There's a lot of court cases that have been going on recently in the last couple of years over this same exact issue. And guess what? The school districts have been losing big time, trust me.
But I mean, there's court cases over like schools being used by churches over the weekends to do like choir
outreach
practice or hold a talent competition or whatever it is, because the school isn't used over the weekend, but then they're using the resources without really paying for it, which is tax dollars being used towards religion. So that became a court case, and I don't even know if I have a big problem with that. Like like if it's just people getting together and there's people there that don't give a rat's ass about it, they're just there to hang out with their friends and whatnot. That's what the last 4 years I went to church was for that reason, because my buddies went to church and we'd all hang out there and had nothing at all to do with the actual religion and listening to the scripture shit. But I don't know, Jesus. Sorry, lots of noise in my house. Yeah. Anyway,
no,
I guess my point is that if one place, you can't just have one place handing out pamphlets, because then it's almost like curriculum. You know what I mean? You have to give other options. But then that's the same argument that creationists would use when you're teaching science, that you have to give other options. is not just what science says; it's what the Bible says. And so, I don't know. It's a you know, tricky. It's tricky.
Yeah, it is tricky. Tricky. Rock around, it's tricky.
Science curriculum, it's science curriculum. It's you know, it's actually
science
reviewed. Well, yeah, it's actually science. It's reviewed by people. It's agreed upon by people. What the textbooks are going to say, what the actual curriculum is going to say, what the science of it is. Not we need to add this to it. So that analogy is not good. It's not equal.
I'm not saying that.
Teacher.
I'm not disagreeing with you for the shit of disagreeing with you. I'm saying their argument of you know, we make the argument that you can't just have Christian pamphlets. You got to have other pamphlets, and they would make the same arguments that you can't just have what these people want to teach. You got to have what we want to teach. Of course, they're wrong. I'm not agreeing with them. I'm just saying that's an easy argument to make from the other side. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but the argument, it's moot. I mean, because you can't do that. If you're going to pass out religious literature, you have to pass out all religious literature or none. That's the way it has to go.
That's what we've said.
And they're saying that if you're going to educate children the way you want to do it, then you also got to educate children the way we want to do it.
That doesn't work, not in public school. So that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't. But it's a shitty argument. But I'm telling you why it's a shitty argument on both sides. It's a shitty argument to give and to receive.
And I'm saying why it wouldn't work and why it doesn't matter.
So, Paul, if it was a high school where it was a teacher said, "Well, I want only science literature in here, humanist literature in there," would you disagree with that?
Only science literature.
Yeah, being handed out. Like they were just handing out literature. They had tables where you could have humanist literature, atheist literature.
Shouldn't be handing out literature in the first place.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Okay.
But if they were going to hand out literature in a science classroom, it better be science.
I didn't mean science, but I mean like humanist literature.
I mean, why would they be I mean, just like randomly at a school?
How are you supposed to not hand out literature at a school? I mean, like half of my classes were reading, and it's whatever the school or the school district decides you should read. These are not books like all about being educated. They're like weird, crazy books, and they have arguments about it all the time about which books should be read and should be taught in classes and blah, 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 blah.
Kitzmiller versus Dover was a prime example of that.
No, you're talking about completely different things.
No. There are people who like choose the literature that children read, and I don't see how they're any really smarter than anyone else.
They're not. The school board, most of the times, they're not.
Anyway, so you see my point.
But you're talking about a different literature. The literature in this
curriculum, and that literature is not always.
Oh, geez, one out of fucking time here.
You're talking about different literature. You're talking about the curriculum. They're talking about handing out flyers and pamphlets. That is what the word of literature in this context, not literature as in the literature we have to read in school, in the class, in the textbook.
There's like Catcher in the Rye and shit like that we've all read, and then there's stuff that is only in certain schools, and that's why people get in trouble. And sometimes it's religious, or sometimes they consider it like too sexual, or whatever the problem is, and they don't think kids should be reading it. But it's part of the curriculum because it just gets put in the curriculum. Textbooks are not always right. Obviously, like look at the Texas issue with textbooks and how they're trying to change shit around. You can't just trust everything you read. So, I mean, for even textbooks. You can't just pick up whatever textbook and trust whatever it says without having other sources. I think it's exposing yourself to as many issues as possible that really opens your mind and makes you really skeptical of all the issues when you hear all the arguments. So I have absolutely no problem with them putting their flyers and allowing everyone else to put their flyers out there too. And sure, maybe the one with the most money will get the nicest flyers and get the most of them put out or whatever, but they're going to waste a lot of fucking money on flyers. You know what I mean?
So, all right, let's move on here. I'm going to say something right now, Paul, and then Drew's going to go after me. So, no, you guys, it's good that we're going back and forth here. We're skeptics.
No, I'm just wondering how it even got into that.
It doesn't even matter, Paul. We're moving on right now. So, but no, I agree. Like, if Christians are going to complain about being, other literature there, like atheistic literature and atheists putting out literature, I feel like I've always say is, you know, if they don't like it, they could put their kids in private schools or they could homeschool them. They have options, okay? So if they don't like that kind of shit, especially when it comes to science, you know, I know I'm expanding a little bit on the issue, but like just like science, if they're pushing for creationism in a lot of schools, if you don't like it, take your kids out of public school and homeschool them. Take them out, put them in private school, private Christian school. You have options, okay? So if you're going to sit there and get mad because atheists are countering your attempt to indoctrinate a school, children in a school that, you know, don't believe in your bullshit, then guess what? You're going to have to fucking deal with it. If you don't like it, take your kids out of school. Drew?
I don't think I have that much anymore. I just, I think the biggest issue is when we're talking about the pamphlets and stuff like that, I think the important issue is teaching kids. It's more about teaching kids how to think and not what to think.
Correct.
And I think it kind of comes into what we were talking about.
No, I agree. Mm-hmm. Exactly. School's not there for, you know, to, you know, indoctrinate each other with your, you know, beliefs back and forth. You know, if you want to talk amongst your friends with that in school, so fucking be it. You have that fucking right. If you want to pray in a group together, you know, you have that right. You can do that in public school. If you want to read your Bible with a group of friends, you have that right. You can do that in fucking school. But you don't have the right to hand out literature or you know, AKA fucking pamphlets to other people and have your parents involved giving you these pamphlets from your church and handing them the fuck out, or even putting them on tables. You don't have that right.
The point I made earlier was that means you're stuck with whatever the curriculum is, which means whatever dumbass picks the curriculum is what every kid gets taught with no outside influence whatsoever.
That's good.
And I think that's kind of dangerous too.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good way to put it. Thank you. Yeah, that's good. So anything else, Drew? Drew, I'll give you the last word. Go ahead and we'll move on.
Oh, I don't need the last word.
I mean, Paul.
No,
Paul, not you. Paul.
Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead, Paul.
Paul, I'm sorry, because I know Paul had something to say.
No.
Go, Paul.
Yeah, it's just there's a difference between handing out literature in the curriculum, and that's not running why you got into that. But yeah, I don't think that they should be handing out pamphlets and little guides and things like that at all. Anyways, whether it's religious or otherwise, I don't think that they should be doing that. It's there to learn, not to be told, you know, this is not proselytized by any organization. I don't care what it is. Think that even the armed forces, I don't give a shit.
A bunch of chick tracts wouldn't turn kids into atheists quick. You just let them pass out the chick tracts, and then you end up with like the atheism will jump to 50% of the country.
The reason they're there.
Gotta unmute Paul.
Sorry, you muted.
Yeah, they're supposed to be there to be to learn and
Correct,
learn for themselves, not by being given pamphlets and.
Wait a second, reading pamphlets and shit is learning for yourself.
Well, no, for like having religious organizations coming on in the school and giving out these pamphlets to people, like, "Hey, you should learn this. You should do this." It's
Paul,
like, no, why would you endorse that?
If you can't be exposed to something without blindly obvious.
No. Why would you? No, I'm saying, why would you endorse that on a public school?
I'm not endorsing it. I'm saying that I don't see why, like. Putting out some pamphlets, okay.
30 seconds.
They put out some Christian pamphlets to the school, and then they put out some humanist pamphlets to the school. And I bet you the number of kids that picked it up was approximately like 2.5%. Like nobody gives a shit about them pamphlets. Nobody gives a rat's ass about that stuff. They don't even use it to jot down like notes on the back side of the pamphlet. They don't care at all. They're like, what the fuck?
I wait my ass for that.
But the few that do pick it up, you know, either already agree with it, or I mean, there's so few, I guess, people that are actually on the fence when it comes to that kind of shit. You know, there's nobody that's going to pick up a pamphlet and be like, oh, I believe in Jesus. Like that's so stupid, and it's just a dumb way of going around it. And if you're trying to spread propaganda offering a pamphlet at like a middle school, you don't get how fucking kids work. They don't care about pamphlets that are like stacked on a table, you know, that, you know, and kids can just pick it up if they want. They don't have to take it, you know, because they can't force the kids to take it.